2024 is shaping up to be a much better year for Milwaukee County than any year in quite a while. The county has avoided the looming fiscal cliff it was facing, and attention is now turning to stabilizing funding and growing quality of life programs. Joining us to talk about what is happening in Milwaukee County is Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley. Thanks for being with us, and welcome back to Connect MKE County Executive.
Well, it's always a pleasure to be on the show, and thank you for having me again.
Our pleasure. What a difference a year makes. The county's fiscal picture is so different thanks to the Act 12 state legislation that you really helped to negotiate. That brought additional resources to Milwaukee County that puts it on a much more stable setting. Without Act 12, where do you think the county would be today in terms of its fiscal condition?
Well, I think that's a great question. And if it wasn't for Wisconsin Act 12, our fiscal situation would be much dire, which means that we wouldn't be able, one, to fund many of the programs and services that so many folks rely on. And that's many of our Housing First program that helps many of the people who are unsheltered finding homes and helping them find ways to recover. But even when we think about mental health, our transit, as well as our parks, we wouldn't be able to make the necessary investments. But we also wouldn't have been able to have a fix to the pension challenges that we've had for the past 25 years. And so without this critical piece of legislation, in the next coming years, Milwaukee County would have been facing close to a $100 million deficit, which means that we would have literally had to cut many of the programs and services that folks rely on. And we're not talking about, just willy-nilly programs. We're talking about serious programs that help out some of our most vulnerable people in our community. But because we've gotten this piece of legislation, because of the partnership, and due to the leadership of Governor Tony Evers, bipartisan legislators in the legislature, we now have the opportunity to actually invest back into Milwaukee. And so we've reduced our deficits tremendously because of this act, and we've actually have a soft freeze and actually came up with a solution to the 25-year pension challenge that we were facing.
One of the areas where there's been a significant difference and support really is in the Milwaukee County transit system, which was facing its own significant issues that would have resulted in some cuts. Now the transit system is on better financial ground. You're going to be adding that second rapid bus route. It's a remarkable transformation.
Well, we know that our transit system is something that so many people rely on every single day, and it's a major responsibility of Milwaukee County. Unfortunately, the state doesn't look at it as a mandated program, but we do because we understand what our bus system provides. And so I'm glad that you touched on our bus rapid transit system, the second line that we're looking to implement in the next couple of months. And we're actually going after some federal funding to see if we can get some dollars from them to help pay for it. But this would allow for a route to go along the 27th Street corridor, going as far south as Oak Creek to as far north as Glendale. And when you think about this particular corridor, the amount of people who may be underemployed or unemployed, this provides some access to the many jobs, probably over 2,000 plus businesses along this corridor, really making the connection between North and Southern Milwaukee County. But we know that, again, transit is important. That's why we double down and put more money into transit, not just for the operations and maintenance, but we also, invested at historic levels, particularly as it relates to transit security, so we can keep our operators as well as our riders safe as well.
Another area that's really important to the quality of life in Milwaukee County is access to affordable housing. One of the things you outlined in your State of the State is the investment that the county is making in affordable housing. Why is that something the county needs to be engaged in?
Well, one, I say it all the time, and I would definitely say it again here, but housing is a matter of public health. And affordable housing is a critical social determinant of health. If we want to make sure that our community, the people that we represent, have a pathway towards sustainability, towards prosperity, housing is a key part of that. And so affordable housing is really give us the opportunity to wrap around other services, particularly when I think about our Housing First program. For 2 years, we had the lowest unsheltered population per capita in the nation. And right now we're number 2, and we're working to get back to number 1 this year. But if we want to wrap around services, helping people with maybe recovering from an addiction, helping people gain the soft skills and training to find better employment if they're underemployed, but finding employment in general if they don't have a job. And so for me, as a person who's also faced different levels of housing insecurity, we know how not only this takes a toll on adults who are probably the head of the household, but how this also takes a toll on our children. And so how do we expect them to become better students when they don't even know where they're going to lay their head? So for us, if it wasn't for the partnership with the federal government, particularly Senator Tammy Baldwin, Congresswoman Gwen Moore, and President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, we wouldn't have been able to make these types of investments right here. And we're talking about the building of 100 new single-family homes in the King Park neighborhood so we can grow home ownership, particularly in communities of color, in Black and brown communities, but also seeing the largest push of affordable housing right now happening in suburban communities, which is astounding because I guarantee just 5 years ago, we'll still be having a nippy conversation because not too many people understand what this means. But we're making incredible investments, incredible strides right now, but we want to continue to do this. So we know that that's going to come with partnerships. And it's one of the things that we really highlighted during my State of the County is that we need to create more partnerships to bring these resources back.
One area that the county has been particularly aggressive in when it comes to health is really taking a look at what can be done around the opioid crisis that is claiming so many lives. You really have done a lot when it comes to efforts around the harm reduction, vending machines and other things that have been done. What are continued plans for that and for other services around substance abuse?
Well, one, we have to recognize that we can't talk about substance use without talking about mental health because this is a mental health crisis that people are going through, and we need to help them get over whatever level of addiction that they have. And so we've opened it up. We have 11 different harm reduction vending machines out there all across Milwaukee County, and we have things like fentanyl testing strips, Narcan, and gun locks to help prevent tragic situations as we move forward. And so Milwaukee County, we're going to be receiving about $102 million in settlement funds, particularly because we've had that opportunity to hold back actors accountable who've pumped opioids into our community. And so this is the largest investment that we have seen, particularly as it relates to a local unit of government in the state of Wisconsin. And so not only are we doing the vending machines, we have 11, but we're looking to expand that. So if you know a business or an organization that's looking to have their own harm reduction vending machine, they can apply at Milwaukee County to see if they can hold these life-saving situations and solutions right within their own community. We all need to get rid of the stigma as it relates to mental health, but also as it relates to drug addiction. And so these harm reduction vending machines are going to be key to doing that. But we also have different projects as it relates to how can we work with the community as it relates to really reducing the level of overdose deaths and hopefully eliminating it altogether.
When you take a look at Milwaukee County and you look forward, what do you see? How do you see Milwaukee County 5 years, 10 years from now, being able to reach your goal of being the healthiest county in the state of Wisconsin?
Yeah, I'm glad you. That's a great question. Our vision is that by achieving racial equity, health equity, we can become the healthiest county in the state of Wisconsin. And what that looks like is, no matter where you come from, what background you have, no matter where you live, you can travel within any parts of Milwaukee County and feel safe and feel accepted and feel like you have an opportunity to make something of your life as well as your families. And so we want to make this a vibrant and connected community. And it really starts with focusing on the social determinants of health, whether we're talking transportation, housing, mental health, access to healthcare, employment. We need to take a holistic approach about how we are absolutely making a difference and really making a positive impact on the people that we represent. And we don't do this in a vacuum. We have to work with the philanthropic community, business leaders, community leaders, everybody, all of our residents to really come to the table and really join in this effort in making us the healthiest county. And so I believe that happens with making sure that we have not just affordable housing, we have market rate housing, that we have access to family supporting jobs for every resident within Milwaukee County, and that our public transit system allows to be utilized to get people to and from those opportunities. And so for me, it's just about growing what we have right here, but also changing the narrative and the perception that people have on Milwaukee County. And so that's just going to take a lot of hard work. Me, myself, and other leaders stepping outside of our geographical comfort zone to build authentic relationships, because what's good for Milwaukee County is good for the state of Wisconsin.
You have a lot on your plate, and we are so glad that you were able to find some time to talk to us today. Thanks so much for joining us, County Executive Crowley.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We're back in just a minute.